Hey, this is Jessica Hammer, host of Crowned and Dangerous. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is John Lauder, host of The Cheap Seats here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, The Cheap Seats, where we talk about sports from the fans' perspective. A new show comes out every Monday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of The Cheap Seats. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello everyone, it's No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and we're going to do another year in review episode because last year's year in review episode was more truthfully only more like 3 months in review. So we're going to do it for real this time, kids, because it's been a real year that we get to review. And last time that I did this, I shouldn't say last time. So this week's show, but last year was the same, and we're gonna do the same thing again. Hello, Luis Francisco. How are you, buddy? Is that beer? I can't even see that great. Looks like beer to me. Seems like beer 30. So I'm gonna take a second and share the broadcast because this is a community here. It's a community here on Public House Media. It is a community, and it is for everyone to join in the conversation. That's the whole point of doing the show live, is so everybody can join in, and there'll be funsies. Because it's really like doing the show without, like, if just doing a pre-tape show is not nearly as much fun as doing the show with you guys. Here, let me set up it. Okay, let us see. And Gary Strauss came in. Hey, Gary Strauss. How's it going, buddy? All right, let's do a share. A share. Share if you care. Share. Come on. Also, you should share the broadcast, too. If I'm taking my time to share it, that would be great if you did, too. Share on my timeline. All right, it is shared. We've been shared. Yay! And David Bobke's here. How does it sound, David? Does it sound okay? Since I'm here in the sheets. In the sheets. Me and my headphones are in the sheets. Oh, I have to get my beverage. Very, very important. I mean, truthfully, like, we can't have a year in review of No Filter Friday without tea. Like, what will we do without it? And I need to get my briefcase is sitting right here, but I need to get my phone. Come on, phone. Because we are going to go over all of the, we're going to go week by week, and we're going to give an update from what's happened since I did that show with those people. Some are juicier than others. I mean, some of these stories died, and some of them didn't. Some of these people are like, who? What happened to who? And it's completely a non-issue anymore. And then other people are like, now in jail. Like it's a completely... It could go anyway. It could go either way, folks. It could go either way. Okay, so with that being said, okay, so the first one was James, Imagine Christmas and Summer. Yeah, basically, it, we don't know. We have no idea. So after my 2017 year in review episode, I did an episode on James Franco. And obviously James Franco is back to work. Like I think of people a little bit apprehensive about him in town and working with him, but as far as his like public perception or like anything that he's on is doing pretty well. You know, he's on the Deuce and that's going great, and he's got movies in development, so uh whatever happened with him, and old James Franco's going about his business. He's doing the same thing he was doing before all that came out. Next episode was Larry Nassar, who is now in jail. He was sentenced when I did that episode, but he's now in jail and he's serving. Every now and then, like Larry Nassar's name will pop up because I think there's a few other doctors that are going to get caught up in that kind of a case. That's the kind of case that they're going to catch. And Larry Nassar's case is definitely being used as precedent for any sort of like medical field like sexual misconduct or assault, basically. There was a doctor here, I think in Orange County. Don't quote me on that, but anyway, there's a doctor that's catching another case. He's like a labor and delivery doctor, and he's like losing his hospital privileges, and he's getting sued because he would do like, you know, ladies that he was delivering their babies, like one woman when he did her episiotomy, and I use that term loosely, like he cut her so bad that she permanently lost control of her bowels. So I think she won like a $750,000 lawsuit against him, but like they didn't give permission for that. Like he just did it. Apparently he just did it with scissors. Like he just went, and then she's never been the same since, and she's had to have like a bunch of surgeries for it. So in that case, in that malpractice case, they used Dr. Nassar's case like as precedent, supposedly. And then I think that hospital's revoking his privileges, so he can't work there anymore. He has to go someplace else or don't go anywhere at all, basically. That was also a probably really great option for him, is to just retire and not hurt anybody else. And then the episode after that was also Larry Nassar. It was like a follow-up. So yeah, still in jail, and his case is really was a big win for people who have been assaulted by medical professionals. And then Jeremy Piven isn't exactly back to business as usual. I think he's going to have a little bit of a hard time booking jobs, but I think as far as like indies go and stuff like that, like he's okay. Like, I mean, that's why chicks get mad at him. It's because he's terrible in bed. Like, ask anybody who's been with Jeremy Piven. He's terrible in bed. That's why he ends up with all these problems. He just can't read the room to save his life. After Jeremy, I did an episode on Sundance and Nate Parker. I get a bunch of emails from Sundance because I've been like 7 years in a row, and they're doing a few panels this year on Me Too, because last year all of their panels and their keynotes and stuff like that was booked like prior to this stuff like coming out. And the Weinstein Company normally has like a pretty strong presence at Sundance, and clearly they couldn't do that last year, so it kind of left a hole a little bit, I think, in the normal Sundance stuff. But this year is going to be the first year of like not missing the Weinstein Company. I don't think anybody's gonna, somebody will come in and fill that gap, and it will be an opportunity for them, and it's going to be awesome. Still not decided if I'm going to go to Sundance this year or not. We'll see. It depends on, normally I like to have my Sundance plans like locked up before Christmas, but I don't necessarily need to go the first weekend this year because I don't have a screening that I need to be at. So maybe I'll consider going during the week. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I haven't quite. I'm on the Sundance fence. I'm on the Sundance fence. Okay, so who else? I did an update show, much like the one that we're doing now. And then I did an episode talking about the downfall of the hashtag #MeToo movement, and I think what I talked about the most was like people being scared of it being exploited, like not people on the outside looking in, but like people in Hollywood, like really like ramping up, their legal protections and standards and practices and like all that stuff. But with that being said, I guess we'll get to that later, but people are really, really trying to, but now that people have went to jail, Bill Cosby's in jail, Harvey Weinstein's on his way to jail, Larry Nassar's in jail, like all these, like the consequences, like for the people who, really did catch like actual cases, like not just press, like it's really, really serious. So it's definitely changed the culture, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think that, I think, looking like a year later, what we thought was going to be the downfall of Me Too hasn't quite worked out like that. I think going forward, the downfall of it might be like just oversaturation, like just like crazy stories coming out and like so many of stories that are just kind of just kind of meh, and they're just going to get glossed over. I think that could be a really not a great thing for the movement, but we'll see. It's changed. It'll probably change again. Who knows? Evan Rachel Wood and Ryan Seacrest. This is the one that we talked about where Ryan Seacrest is gay, and it's hilarious that chick was trying to sling anything at him. Obviously that did not affect Ryan Seacrest at all. He's still got all 55 jobs that he does all day long, like the busiest guy in the world. I think Evan Rachel Wood's booked a couple things, so no retaliation for her, certainly not in the indie world. I don't know if any studios are going to have her anytime soon, but what ifs? She's booking indie stuff, and I think she's kind of like, clawing her way back into the scene, basically, as a, legit actress. And then that was the episode after that was an Oscars recap, which we're going to be doing again here really soon. I think the Golden Globes are up first, and then we'll have a bunch of Guild Awards like SAG, DGA, all that stuff. And then Critics' Choice, Grammys, and then Oscars. So our next Oscar episode is coming really, really, really soon, but we'll see what kind of nonsense people put in their speeches. I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would just get up there and take their award and be like, I'd like to thank the Academy, and just get off the stage and go do press and talk about what you want to talk about, like when the press is asking you 1,000 questions. Like, award shows are already like crazy, crazy, crazy long, and it's already too much. The press is gonna, like, if you win, like the press is gonna stand there back there with you for hours asking you questions anyhow. Like, go do it then. Hashtag Me Too with Linda Carter. I don't think Linda Carter's doing much other than watching her Wonder Woman legacy unfurl into what it's become. Terry Crews, a major influence and component to the legitimacy of the hashtag Me Too movement. I read that episode was really, really was bittersweet because it was sad the way things like happened for him, but it was also really fun to read that whack apology that the guy sent years later because he was sorry that he got caught, not sorry that he did it. But Terry's been invaluable to the Me Too movement, and I hope he's feeling better about himself and his situation. The GQ Man of the Year party was just a couple weeks ago, and I didn't miss that. But hopefully, if I run into Terry here, like between now and the Oscars, like I'll definitely ask him about it because I want to know how his life is going. I did an off the beaten path episode, but you know what? I do those all the time. I gotta say, David Bobke says you gotta say at least hi, mom, if you win. Agreed. And then cut and run, yo, cut and run. I feel like every now and then I have to do an off the beaten path episode of the show because something will pop up. And there's a few episodes, like off the beaten path episodes that I wanted to do that I couldn't fit in this year because like a development with Harvey Weinstein would come up or somebody else would pop out of the woodwork and I wouldn't be able to do it. And I wanted to do more off the beaten path episodes. So maybe, you know what? Public House Media sent out our like yearly like questionnaire, and it asked about like our goals that we wanted for the show, or you know whatever it is that we do. And I think I'm going to go back and amend that. I want to do some more off the beaten path episodes, and maybe I'll just do them as bonus episodes and we can just throw them up whenever. But sometimes things strike me and I want to talk about it on this show, but I don't have the time to do it because everybody's out here acting up. Like everybody's out here just Wile E. Coyote throwing my game. What's the next one? TJ Miller and Dan Schneider. TJ Miller, very much back to work. He's got several movies coming out. They're still living in New York, as far as I know. They haven't come back here to live anyway. But TJ's, had a few movies come out. He's got more movies coming out. He is not slowed down. Dan Schneider, on the other hand, we'll see. Like I said, I talked about how in that episode, that was a kind of an interesting episode because I just run into an executive that like kind of spilled all the tea on the street about how the network was like, Nickelodeon or like even the kid networks at all would just be like, if there's so much as a rumor, you're gone. Like we can't afford the crisis PR that's required to keep you. We'll just get somebody else. Music festivals and the new sexual harassment. That's been going on for a long time. Like I feel like it's more so it's been going on in Europe. And it's like bleeding its way over here. But that one we talked about Coachella. I'm not a Coachella person. I'm not a concert person at all. Like, you couldn't pay me enough money to go stand in the dirt with a bunch of normal people for Coachella. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. But so far as I can tell, like, none of the music festivals in America have been like, oh yeah, we're gonna change X, Y, and Z rules or whatever. Like, people have talked about it, but nothing's happened. So, surprise, surprise. What else? Bill Cosby in jail, staying in jail. Gonna be in jail for a long time. Georgina Chapman has been quiet, although I get emails from the British Fashion Council for their events and stuff like that. They're like they're awards because it's award time for the British Fashion Council. And I saw this thing the other day, and it was like most top fashion searches within the UK, and Georgina Chapman was like number 4. So I think she took her business across the pond. I think she took Marchesa across the pond. And one of my favorite sample sale places, this place called 260 LA. It's in Beverly Hills. They have to die for sample sales. Go. They're amazing. But they just had, or it might be going still now, a Marchesa sample sale with like major markdown. So I have a feeling like she just she's dumping her stock in the United States, and she's kicking it across the pond because nobody really cares or know who she is. They just know Marchesa. So we'll see if she pops up for award show season. We'll see if anybody's really wearing old Georgina. Now that her and Harvey are like separated and things have kind of calmed down for her. Polly Perrette, off being Polly Perrette. I haven't heard anything from her since she left. Not only since she left the show, but since she announced why she left the show and how she was sexually harassed. Benjamin Adams and Asia Argento. Benjamin Adams is still serving whatever sentence they gave him for messing with a 14-year-old boy. Asia Argento. Do we do another one with her? No. That was kind of a wild episode because that was mostly about pedophilia and about how people procure children in this industry. They don't just pop out of thin air. They don't just magically appear in hot tubs. Somebody had to drive them there. And, spring them out of their house. So, yeah. That was one of the many pedophilia episodes of this show. More Harvey Weinstein. So many developments in this case. Like, this is like halfway the Harvey Weinstein show. No Filter Friday. #, AKA the Harvey Weinstein Weekly. Anthony Bourdain, God rest his soul. I feel like he hasn't gotten that much press since he decided to leave us. Which, I guess if he's resting peacefully, he's resting peacefully. Kevin Spacey, Jamie Foxx, and who else? I wish I could open these on iTunes, but I can't. Kevin Spacey, he booked another movie. It's a weird indie movie, but he booked another movie, so he's kind of technically back to work, but no studio will ever mess with him again. It's just not right. Chris Hardwick's back on his game. He's back to work. Lydia's been posting tons of pictures for them. Looks like they had a really cute Halloween together, so they're back on the horse. Luckily for them, because that's a really hard thing to go through. And then after the Chris Hardwick episode was when Bonnie Gillespie came on, and we had like an hour conversation about what it's like to be a casting director and have people that you're working for be like, hey, so which one of these actresses that came into audition today, which one do you think will sleep with me? And all that jazz. And if you haven't listened to or you haven't seen the episode with Bonnie Gillespie, go see it. Go look at it because it's awesome. It's an hour long and she is amazing. She's so, so, so cool. And she was very, very insightful on what happens when you're a casting director and you're faced with these things. Who else? Another update episode. Another Harvey Weinstein episode, because it's never ending. And then a Chris Hardwick, Kimberly Guilfoyle episode. Okay, so we just talked about Chris Hardwick, but Kimberly Guilfoyle, so the word on the street is, so like, their ping pong thing was that she was like, I'm leaving Fox to go work on the Trump blah, 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 blah. And then Fox was like, no, she's leaving because we gave her the option to leave instead of firing her. And it's because she was, intermingling, she was using like her hair and makeup team like outside of work or whatever, and like she was showing people dick pics. Apparently the word on the street around here is that she was showing dick pics of Donald Trump Jr.'s dick around Fox News. How crazy is that? There's a new movie, I think it's called Fair and Balanced. I think that's the title that they've arrived at. Charlize Theron's producing it. I worked on it. But the chick that they got to play Kimberly Guilfoyle is dead on. She is a dead ringer for her. It's crazy. When I walked onto the set and I saw this lady, I was like, that's who they got to play Kimberly Guilfoyle? Oh my God, she's perfect. She's amazing. And they she looks so good. It's your mind. If you go see that movie, which I'm sure you will because it's a big one, you will be gobsmacked by how perfectioned the lady that plays Kimberly Guilfoyle is. Les Moonves. CBS is still dealing with the fallout from this fool. Still. That guy, they're more as, like, I kind of did that story a little bit early, I think. More and more people with more and more problems with him keep coming out, and I think at some point the lid's gonna blow on that, like for real, and then we'll have to do another update episode because more and more like keeps just trickling out, and I'm sure the floodgates will open if it's trickling now for this long. That's what I would think. Casey Affleck and Nev Schulman. I think he ended up leaving the show. It's not on hiatus anymore, but I think he ended up leaving the show. And then the guy that works on Catfish and MTV. And then Casey Affleck. We'll see if he bothers with this award show season. He probably shouldn't. He should probably definitely quiet up for a little while because the stuff that he makes is not doing super well. On top of his little personal problems, so he should probably not. Vatican cover-ups was the next episode after that, and the Pope, it came out today, that the Pope is urging, clergy members of the Catholic Church to turn themselves in, and which, I don't know, that could be like a play, because like the Catholic Church is who was covering up for these dudes, so I don't know. Jury's still out on that. I'm not totally sure if I trust that situation. More Asia Argento. Jesus. I don't even know this chick, and she's like dominating the show here. Louis C.K. The Louis C.K., I mean, he's off doing stand-up and being quiet about it, basically, but luckily, the Louis C.K. episode was one of the biggest episodes in the history of No Filter Friday. Apparently everybody was really, really interested in that, so thank you for being interested in Louis C.K. But it was a fun episode for me to do. It was definitely dirty. It was one of the dirtiest episodes of the show for sure. So Louis back to doing stand-up, probably not in the United States, he's probably off and around, but he's doing stand-up. Russell Simmons, he hasn't responded to any of these things that have happened. Not to say happened, but like any of these people that have came out against him or anything. Like, he's never really said anything, and he kind of got caught up in that Brett Ratner situation too, and he never said anything about that. So I think he's on the lay low juice, which is probably good for him. He should probably just cool it and go someplace else. Olivia Munn and Terry Crews. Jeez. Olivia Munn is killing it as usual, and she's definitely not taking any kind of lip from nobody. So I think she's working slowly. Terry Crews again. Like I said, hopefully he's having a lovely Terry Crews holiday, and giving everybody Old Spice. That's my wish for him. Hollywood Enablers. I did a whole show on Enablers, and it's hard to do an update on that because those people still exist for sure, but it makes me wonder, like, how many we've pulled out of the enabling game. But that might be something to do for 2019, is to figure out what what the predator to enabler ratio is. still lingering around here. Bill Cosby's conviction, off to jail. The publicity machine. I talked about how the spin, basically, and the spin is harder these days because people can figure out like the real thing, like if they're so inclined. Like, the press could print basically whatever they want, but there's a certain faction of people that will actually go like dig and find out what the real deal is. So that whole publicity machine thing doesn't work quite like how it used to, and in the good old days, but that's for the best. That is for the best. How to avoid unsafe castings. Oh, that was my friend Aussie came on for that show, but we were at work, so it got rained out, but I did some extended audio for the podcast version, and I talked about things that you can do to avoid unsafe castings, and that, that's kind of evergreen. No updates on that. I think all that stuff's going to be it's going to be the same information forever, basically, unless something happens. More Harvey Weinstein. We'll see if we get a Christmas update from him. Who knows? The 50th episode is extravaganza, which was so much fun. My publicist Elizabeth had that for me, and it was so much fun. I did it from the Austin Film Festival, and people came and we talked about it and talked about like the not the birthplace, but the conception place of Me Too, for sure, which was so much fun. We ate like crazy and drank, and there was prizes. It was so much fun. So a big thank you to everybody who came out for that. My birthday episode, aka the sock episode, that episode is hilarious and filthy. If you have not listened to that or seen the video, because gestures. Oh, so crazy. So crazy. Hollywood, a look ahead. That was only 3 weeks ago, and I forget what happened. Another Harvey Weinstein episode. Oh my god, this is never ending. I did one just last week. It's crazy. I feel like I talk about him constantly. And then last week was Neil deGrasse Tyson, and we just had a chat about the fact that I accidentally Me Too'd some people on my own set because I just took my shirt off to change in my costume and I didn't do it. I just did it in front of everybody because I forgot that you're supposed to wear clothes. We'll see what happens on good old Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like there's a network investigation going, so if they find anything, which I highly doubt they will, I'm sure he'll be back to astrophysicing in no time. But it's been a wild year, kids. It's been a wild year. We've sat here every week and we have talked about the nonsense that has come down. And it's an over a year of doing this show. How crazy is that? With no end in sight, no end of #MeToo in sight. And that's, to me, that's the real crazy thing. Because when it first came out, like a year and a half ago, people were like, "Nah, this is gonna be a fad," and like things are really changing. People are really going to jail. Like there's been several people that have actually went to jail over the course of the show. And that's, to me, that's pretty wild. That's pretty gnarly. So, there's more tea to spill, kids. There's more tea to spill. It's never ending. But I will leave you with that. Well, I don't think there's a show next week because next week is Christmas. So there might be a show. If there is, I'll absolutely do one. If there's not, then you're just gonna have to live without me. But I will see you all in the next show. Thanks for coming by. Get the podcast version wherever you can get podcasts, and I will see you next time. Bye.